guys, and welcome back to our channel. We are the Wrights, and my name is Rachel.
I'm Ade.
And this is going to be another section on marriage and finance. So, do you want to start off, babe?
Yeah, it's gonna be juicy. We're gonna be chatting about finance. So we're gonna go into our story time. So I'm gonna go into my story time. I always like an origin story of how everything began. So university, actually, I take that back. My first time with money, real money, was when I was quite young. I would say about 17. And a couple of mandem that I knew approached me and said, listen, we got a bit of money and we're just going to put that in a bank account and then we're going to collect it. So I'm like, all right. Yeah, I said, yeah, that's cool. That's not a problem. They're like, all right, we're going to give you a little bit of a cut. I'm like, yeah, come on. Why not? Yeah, in my head, I'm thinking that sounds brilliant. Beknownst to me that this was fraud happening. I wasn't aware.
I need to stop you. Did you? Okay, you just said you wasn't aware, right?
I wasn't aware.
Okay,
I didn't know
just
what was
checking.
going on. And at that time, it was actually a friend at the time that mentioned that, he knew someone who wanted someone's account. At the time, I was 17. I wasn't aware.
Okay.
We went in, put the money in, everything worked as planned. I got my little £200 and I think it was up to 2,000. So I was like, okay, that's not too bad. Did another account. I got excited that year. I got a PlayStation 1. That's how old it was, PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And I got some Timberlands and maybe an Averix jacket, I can't remember. And I was excited, and that was my first introduction to money, the bad way. I learned the hard way because all of that money I had to pay back. And I was fortunate that some of it was wiped out after I told them exactly what happened and the fact that I was ignorant that it was fraud happening. But at the end of the day, that was my first introduction to a little bit of capital. And I was like, wow. Ever since that, I just did it honestly, go to work, get my £10 an hour kind of thing, and I was quite happy with that. So that's the first part. I don't know if you've got an origin story, or should I just continue on?
I think I was around 17, 18, and that's when I started to work. So I was working in Fortnum and Mason in central London, and I was training to become a waitress whilst, because I knew I was going to go back to sixth form or college in September, but I had enough time to work and earn some money. So that's when I encountered good substantial money for me at that point of time. I think my first paycheck was at least £1,200.
Ooh, money.
Yeah, so when that came and dropped into my account, I was like, wow, okay, yes, let's do this.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, that's okay. So you was they do say that women tend to be higher earners at the beginning stage. So I think that's definitely true in your case. So for me, after the fraud situation, which by the way I forgot to mention, it was reported to the police. Ooh. I had a reference number, and so I did everything legit, just in case someone's like, I did everything legit. My next abundance of money would have actually been at university, the student loan. At the time, ignorant, didn't even understand. All I knew is that it was money. The whether you put loan, credit in front of it or at the end of it, it didn't matter to me. I was just excited that I was getting money, and at that time, it was thousands, and I got excited. I had no training in how to manage money at that time. I was so outlandish. When I received the money, I was just like, hey, my friend's mom needed a washing machine. I'm like, boom, I'm going to buy you a washing machine. I'm going to buy you a cooker. And I was just kind of doing that with my money. I had no discipline of what money was. And so that was the first time I dealt with serious money. I mean, now looking back at it, if I would have known that it was a loan,
I agree.
wouldn't have taken it. I would not have. I didn't know it was a loan that you'd had to pay interest. Bear in mind, they did inform everyone in uni that this is going to be a loan, and you don't have to pay it back unless you're making. But it's not registering. All you're saying is that
money.
fat carrot being
Money.
dangled in front of just money.
Yeah.
It's just that moolah, and so that would be an introduction to real money. What about you, baby?
Yeah, same. I knew loan was going to drop. I was like, yes, money's coming through. I got excited. I was like, oh, I've got plan for this, plan for that, plan for that. Hey, but for me, the difference was I wasn't going to buy a washing machine or going to buy one cooker here. I was going to go to the shops. I was buying clothes. I was buying shoes. I was buying bucks. I was like, yes, Rachel's going to live her best life. Do you get what I mean? Them ones where you spent so much that, have you got shopping food for next week? Yeah. So the ignorance was real. I'll say, like, I wasn't even thinking properly during those times. But on contrary to you, I did have education about finance. Like, my parents were always like, don't go into debt. Save. So they did tell me or show me just the importance of money and to not go into debt. Like, my dad always drilled it in us. Don't go and take credit card. Don't go into debt. Don't do this. Don't do that. But I think at that time, because of the excitement and because like it's all this money dropping in, you're like grands that are coming to your account. I wasn't really thinking clearly. Yeah. So I just had plans then and there. Just go to the shops. That was my plan with the money.
Wow. Yeah. I mean that it's actually quite encouraging to hear that. At least. With mom and dad saying don't get into debt, that in itself is a type of financial education.
I agree.
But the thing I was thinking when you mentioned that don't get into debt, don't get a credit card, is that later on, as we're going to discuss, you need a credit card for certain things.
That's
anyway,
true.
So I kind of feel like, sometimes, as most of you lot would know, is that our parents can only give you what they have. Yeah. They can't really give you any more than what they've got in their bag, in their financial literacy. So that's just important to know. But that's true.
But with what they gave us, I still think like there was so much quality and in-depth in it. They may not have gone into in-depth detail of why you shouldn't, but even just saying it to us and just pointing out like, guys, it's not good. Don't go into debt. I feel like there's so much quality in that just being said. But of course it would have been grateful, like even better to have more financial education, but I appreciate just that element of it.
Great financial education that I actually received would have been by a pastor by the name of Pastor Matthew Ashimolo. Thank you. Those Nigerian names are heavy. So and from the KICC, and that really, really, really helped because at the time when I was listening to him, he was going into shares and how you would have been making so much money if you bought the British Telecom shares at a certain time in the 90s and the 80s. I was like, oh wow, and that's when the bulb lit in my head. I'm like, oh wow, so you can actually invest, you can actually put money into shares and things like that. Yes, you can actually make a budget. And so for me, that was the first time encountering how to manage money. Now, I didn't mean I put anything into practice. Okay. I was pretty young then. I think I was about 17, 18, 19, around that range. It is a long stretch, but that's when I kind of encountered that. So for me, that was my financial education.
I think my financial education was after uni. So during uni, I took out the student loan, and I'm not going to name the bank, but they were like, oh, take out a credit card with us. Yeah. So I went
credit card?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, student credit card.
Okay.
Yeah, so I took out a student credit card because I spent the student loan and I fell into debt. So, and I didn't like that, and I wanted something to do about it, but I wasn't taking any actions towards it. It was only till I spoke to like my sister-in-law and she introduced me to Dave Ramsey, and what allowed me to change my ways or be financially educated was I started to become obsessed with watching his YouTube, obsessed with listening to him, and just listen to different stories about people falling into debt or people coming out of debt, to be honest. And from that, I think I did his debt snowball, where it starts from paying off your smallest debt to your largest debt.
Yeah.
And around that time, I think I probably had like 3 to 4 grand of debt that I needed to pay back. So my financial education came from being obsessed with Dave Ramsey and all his terminologies and ideas of becoming financially free.
Oh, wow. Well, my main financial education after my dear pastor, it would be just kind of like watching friends and family.
Okay.
I think a lot of it, watching how mom would be like, I go to the shop and buy this and that. And working, that helps. Working helps.
Yeah.
Going to work, that really helped in terms of like seeing my money and watching how, being young, you know how we are.
That's
you want to get the trainers, the Air Forces, you want to get the chain, you want to get the Evisus. Oh my days,
that's so old.
And all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely played a major part. But yeah, I would say financial education started when I started working. So by the time, and now just moving on to when we met, by the time of me and you meeting, I understood what a credit card was.
Same.
I understood what it meant to get a higher purchase loan, and I started understanding, and I think I became quite disgruntled, maybe a few years before meeting you, of this debt.
Yeah.
And it became an irritant to me. Like debt became an irritant. I didn't like owing anyone money.
Yeah.
Whether it was friends or family, I like to just pay. If I'm gonna pay you, I want to pay you off. I don't want nothing hanging over my head. So for me, before we met, like there was basically no debt. The only debt that I had at the time would have been my car, and I was looking to just kind of clear that out. Any type of money I got, any type of overpayment, I was just throwing it at any type of debt. Because I wanted to be debt free. What about you?
Yeah, I think prior to what you said, a couple of years before meeting you, like I said, I was just becoming obsessed with listening to Dave Ramsey and trying to clear off all my debt. So I managed to pay off all my debt because I was working, I was earning good money. Of course, I lived with my parents at that time as well. So prior to meeting you, of course, I wasn't living at home, and I had rent, I had my car, which was a hire purchase as well. And I had just taken that out quite early of meeting you, actually. It was probably just a couple of months before meeting you. So that was the only debt that I had at that time.
Okay. After we met, we started to have a conversation about credit cards.
Yes, we did.
Because I was of the notion that you needed a credit card to actually improve your credit. And that's what I've been taught. That's what I learned by reading. And whilst chatting to Rachel, I said, you know what, it might be ideal to get a credit card just to build your credit. So how did you feel about that?
I was okay with that, but bearing in mind, I think before that I already subscribed to Experian. So I already knew what my credit history was like. So I was good. Do you know what I mean? And you was good, isn't it? Because there was no debt, but we just wanted to have just that joint knowledge about it. And before talking about what you just said, we. During our dating process, we were talking a lot about finance. And we decided what would work for us. Disclaimer for us is that we would save together. Because of course we're dating to get married. So that was also some financial education there for me. It's like, okay, I need to budget this now on a monthly basis. That's going into a different account.
I think, kind of like going back to the origin story, I think one thing that really did help was my mom charging me rent whilst I lived with her. I believe it was £300 at the time. And as much as I wasn't happy with it, it taught me that you need money for rent. And that must always come first. And so whilst, me and you was dating, I became very obsessed about writing things down. I know you can type things up. I still do it. I like writing my outgoings, my incomes. I jot everything down. And I started budgeting, not knowing. I just didn't even know where the idea came from. But because of everything, and I wanted to just track what was happening with my money. I decided to start writing things down. I'm like, okay, this is what I get. what do I need? What's the main important things that are coming out?
Mm-hmm.
And the minute I started tracking my income and outgoings, the minute I started getting excited about controlling and, improving, what I get and minimalizing what goes out, I started going, okay, cool, I've got this debt. I need to make sure I get rid of that because the interest rate is pretty high and it's eating a lot of my money. Just little things started coming. So by the time me and you met, it was easy. Yeah, it was just so much easier. I'm like, okay, cool. These are my outgoing. We spoke about debt as well. Like, what have you got? And I think at the time, the only debt that we apart from the car was the student loan.
Yeah.
And I don't even nowadays kind of like understanding the student loan a bit better. I wouldn't even really call it a debt. Now, obviously, for American watchers, it will be different. Viewers out there, it will be a lot different because in the UK, the interest rate is relatively low. I think at the time of this recording, it's probably 1.1%. That is the interest rate. And you're not really obligated to pay immediately. And there is, you have to earn a certain amount to actually contribute towards it. And after, I think, 30 years, it's wiped out. It's wiped out. So it is, like, for me, it's actually not. It's not a real loan in that aspect. So
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. So, but you need to kind of like go into topic about the credit card because obviously, because your credit card limit was pretty strong.
Yes, it was. So we decided prior to marriage that, okay, we're going to continue to build up our credit history and take out a credit card. And with me, I was like, yes, I've got the knowledge that I have. I can do this and this, that. Oh, credit card is going to be easy.
Yeah.
That's not the case. Because due to my credit history, because it was good, so they gave me a good substantial amount of credit. And I was like, okay, cool. All it is just paying for something and then returning the money at least 2 to 3 days later. That's what we agreed on. But I didn't realise that as I started to do that, even whilst working and earning good money, it didn't happen like that. I think at times either I was just a bit lenient about it. I was like, oh yeah, I'll pay it next week. Or I just forgot about it, to be honest. And that started to pile up. And I'll be honest with you, I was so nervous to tell you. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to tell him? What am I going to tell him? Like, I've been so good with my finance. And then when this happened, it's like, where did all that knowledge go? Like, what happened? So that aspect allowed me to understand that as good as you think you may be at something, you can get a curveball. And it can bring you back to reality. Like, no, you always need to continue learning. Do you get what I mean? And don't think like, yes, I can go into it and it's going to be great. No, there can be mistakes that are made. So how did you feel about it when I told you?
I think just to kind of give a bit of context, we were just dating. And so in a way, you could kind of do whatever you want with your money. But I think what really helped is the fact that we came to an agreement that we are going to keep one another accountable.
Definitely.
And I think that the power of accountability is that you can, because I don't think a lot of people have accountable partners when it comes to money and finance. You might in other areas, but not with finance. And I feel like it's needed because with just that surge of money coming from the credit card,
you get excited.
And you kind of feel like everything is going to go on the card. And to be honest, credit cards, as somebody once said, should be called debt cards because, to be really honest, they are. Credit sounds so nice, but they are actually a debt card, and you just got to be careful that what you take out in it possibly has interest on it. Even if you're transferring amounts like some people do, there could be interest. So I think one thing that caught you out was the fact that you wasn't really too sure about the interest part of it. Because some people may think, oh, as long as I don't kind of like
exceed the limit.
I'm okay.
Or was it the because there's a monthly limit for, just say you don't have to pay off everything, but you have to meet that monthly limit, the minimum monthly minimum, minimum.
Yeah, which is usually pretty low. They're so generous to say £5 a month, but they also have a little disclaimer that but if you only pay £5 a month, then you may incur more interest because your debt will just become bigger. And so I suppose that's the only thing. So like there's a lot of learning you do on this journey, isn't it? Like credit cards and the limits and paying it in full.
That's true.
Because that's the thing, you do have to pay it in full before the month clocks in again. Or not, you're going to be paying interest. And so we learned that very quickly. So we, after kind of like tackling all of that, we wanted to deal with the debt. And the debts that we had were our cars. Yes, our cars, our precious, beautiful cars. Sally.
Oh, my Sally. I just call my car Sally.
So they want to kind of like chat to us about how that came about.
Yeah, I think as we were going through finance together, because on a weekly basis we have a day where we do finance, and we were just discussing, okay, what other things or alterations can we make in order to bring more money in, isn't it? So we actually realised that I wasn't really using my car. It was COVID time anyway, so there was nowhere to drive to or go to. But after that, it was like, okay, my car's still sitting there. And we then decided to get rid of my car. I do miss my car. I do miss that independence of driving myself around and stuff. But I feel like it's the best thing and the best decision that we've actually made, because I'm not paying a monthly amount towards my car. That's even more money towards savings, to be honest. It's not as if we've delegated it towards somewhere else. It's like more money going towards savings. So that's a bonus. So I think that's been a really good advantage.
And just to kind of echo what you're saying, I definitely believe that was the right call. It just didn't add up for me anyway. Like, I'm not a car person.
No, it's
so
not.
I'm not like BMW, Mercedes, like it doesn't range, all them things there. No, they don't really matter to me.
That's good.
As long as I can get a car that can get me to A to B, that's really it. I'm a simple guy. And so at the end of the day, I just kind of thought, you know what, just sell the car. Sell the car, start paying those monthly amount, and then, and unfortunately, you made a little bit more by selling, a little bit. I think it was slightly just under £200 profit that you made. So that was a really good shout, and I think we're better for it. Now we are debt free, excluding the student loan. But apart from that, we are in a better position.
Thank God.
I think thank God, and I think doors are open when you're like debt free.
I agree.
Doors are open. You start now, instead of just trying to pay off bills, you start thinking about the topics that we're going to go into: wealth preservation. Like, how do I make my money work? How do I protect my money if anything were to happen in the future? And I suppose these will be topics for another time. But I think the blessing is that we are debt free, and now we can focus more about properties.
That's true.
We can now focus on
emergency
investment.
fund.
Emergency fund was really. Come on, tell them what was an emergency fund, because I kind of feel like the concept was new to me as well. I didn't get it, but then when I started looking at it, I'm like, emergency fund is just a buffer. If anything happens, that you lose a job, God forbid, or anything like that, you've got something to carry over.
Exactly. For a certain time as well.
It could be for a month, it could be for 6 months, or it could be for a year. But it's a buffer.
And ideally, it's money to last us for 6 to 12 months.
And it's such a percent.
It is.
To think that you've got a safety net if anything was to happen.
That's true.
And I think a lot of people may not like the idea of, well, why is it there? And the temptation of, I've got this amount, maybe £2,000, let me go and use it to buy something, and it's not meant to be for that. It's an emergency fund that's meant to be only for emergencies. And when that's utilised, you have to make sure the priority is to build it up And I think, there's been a lot of financial literacy and education that we've gained just being married, and it's been really good, and just different ideas about the financial freedom movement that's happening in America and now happening here. So much richness.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
And even that, it's like our emergency fund is different from savings. Do you get what I mean? So like you said, emergency funds, and savings is different. So it's really nice to know that, hey, you can put money in different areas as well. And do you get what I mean? So I think it's really good sharing that financial literacy together.
100%.
And it really does help.
Yeah.
Does that conclude?
That does indeed conclude our session.
So thank you for watching our video. We hope you've subscribed to our channel, liked our video, and any comments or questions, do leave it down below. And we will see you in our next video on marriage and finance.
Peace.